Everyone, and welcome to our Way Forward Workshop Leader Lunch Break. We are thrilled to welcome Laura Kepley to our conversation today. Admittedly, when we first reached out to Laura some time ago, the way forward seemed a tad clearer than it does at this moment, but we are moving forward in the performing arts nonetheless. Laura came to Cleveland and to Cleveland Playhouse in 2010 from Trinity Repertory Company in Providence, Rhode Island, and she became artistic director at CPH in 2013. Her talents, however, are not confined to Cleveland because she has directed plays throughout the Eastern United States, including Chautauqua, Cincinnati, Sarasota, Atlanta, and the Kennedy Performing Arts Center in Washington, D.C. At Cleveland Playhouse, she renders all artistic decisions and crafts the theater's season programming. She is a Drama League Fellow, recipient of the National Endowment for the Performing Arts Career Development Planning for Directors. She's been recognized as a smart business, smart woman, an outstanding woman of note from Crane's Cleveland Business, and an outstanding director from the Cleveland Critics Circle. In addition, she and Cleveland Playhouse were the recipients of the coveted Tony Award. Laura works tirelessly every day to create a theater that is welcoming, diverse, distinctive, bold, thrilling, and essential. And she is a proud alumna of the Leadership Cleveland class of 2021. Welcome, Laura.
Hello, Miriam. Thank you so much for that kind introduction. And I'm very proud to have gone through Leadership Cleveland this past year. That was certainly something that kept me going during the pandemic. So thank you for all that you do. And hello, everyone. It is my great pleasure to be speaking with you today about the reopening of theaters and the launch of Cleveland Playhouse's 106th season. Before I begin, though, I want to thank all of you in the audience. And this is such a great collection of folks here today. I want to thank all of you for supporting Cleveland's arts and culture sector during the most difficult time of the last eight decades. Theater and performing arts, as many of you know, were among the hardest hit during the pandemic. I'm proud to say that Cleveland Playhouse was able to keep the metaphoric theatrical lights on by delivering over 47 hours of original online content that employed 241 artists during this past year. And now, the theatrical field turns its focus to returning to live performances. You may have seen the recent news that all 41 Broadway theaters will be reopening in the next few weeks with the requirement that everyone, artists, staff, and audiences are fully vaccinated, and that the audience is also masked. 11 theaters in DC have banded together in agreement with those measures. Here in Cleveland, you may have seen that Playhouse Square last week started requiring audiences to be masked. Now, Cleveland Playhouse will be opening our first main stage show, Where Did We Sit on the Bus, at the end of October. What will that experience be like? I can tell you this, and I'm going to ask my assistant, Holly, to share screen, please. Okay, your theater going experience will be safe. And so that means, yes, thank you. Thank you, Holly. So what safe means in October may be different than what safe means now. Just as what, to Marianne's point earlier, what was safe back in June is we have a different understanding now here in August. But you can be assured that when we deliver live in-person performances, we will be following all of the best practices, current state and local recommendations, and mandates. We are very fortunate that we have a medical advisory committee made up of CPH board members who are guiding all of our decision-making in this area. So the A in SAFE is accessible. We will be doing digital captures of all main stage shows. So that means if you're not ready to come back to the theater, you can watch it from the safety of your home here in Cleveland, or your friends all across the globe will be able to access Cleveland Playhouse's main stage performances. We'll also be making digital streaming inside CPH programming, again, so that you can, no matter what, have access to the work and that we can remain in community with each other. Flexible, right? As flexible. Woo. As an organization, we will continue to adapt and adjust as conditions change, and we will be so flexible with you regarding how your needs might adapt and change as the season goes on. We have fantastic customer service professionals, and as well our team, the team that we work with at Playhouse Square. We know that caretaking is our most important responsibility right now as we reopen. And your experience is going to be entertaining, inclusive, and joyous. And I look forward to now telling you a little bit more about that. You know, as we think and talk about theater and why we need theater experiences more now, more than ever, there are a couple of things that I think everybody in this gathering today knows. We know that arts and culture are economic drivers. We know, you know, that arts and culture contributes $8 billion to Ohio's economy. We know that the arts are part of revitalizing downtown. And we know that theaters across this town are employers. And we need to get artists, technicians, craftspeople, wig makers, electricians, carpenters, and stage managers back to work. So we know that theater will be critical to our economic recovery. And I deeply appreciate that you all understand that. But what we don't always talk about is that theater is critical to our social, emotional, and civic well-being. Theater is vital to our human recovery. So going to a live theatrical event will refill your emotional tank, restore your sense of empathy, remind you that you are not alone. Remind you as you sit in that audience watching people on stage, remind you of your connections to your fellow human beings, and renew your relationship with your community and your role in it. Our brilliant director of education, Pamela DiPasquale, talks about the work that she was doing in and the education team was doing in the 5 different camps that we held this summer around town. And she talked about how a lot of the camp time was focused on just helping kids remember how to be kids again, and helping them remember how to play and how to interact with each other. And I think that that's something that grown-up kids need too. And going to theater is certainly that way that we reconnect with our shared humanity and our interpersonal relationships. So as we turn our focus now to talking about the season, Cleveland Playhouse had a series of collective dreaming sessions this spring. And we asked people, what are they most craving from theatrical experiences? And for those of you who are feeling brave, you can put in the chat what you are most craving from theater, what you've missed the most. So in talking with people and doing those sessions, this is what people said. And this is, of course, a word cloud. So the bigger the word, the more people said it. So joy, connection, collaboration, community, passion, inspiration. And so we use this input to shape our season. The guiding artistic vision for next season is to tell life-affirming stories that promote and foster resilience, healing, belonging, and that big word that was in the center there, joy. The feel of next season is that of a homecoming, old and new friends coming together, breathing together, reuniting and rejoicing, part ritual, part party. And through the stories on stage, both at Cleveland Playhouse's stage and stages around town, we will be able to process the grief, pain, loss, and isolation of this past year. And at Cleveland Playhouse, we'll be celebrating the creativity, compassion, and many, many acts of kindness that continue to lift us up and give us strength. The plays in our season will uplift hope, possibility, justice, and pathways to recovery and renewal. So our season begins with a burst of music, joy, and hope with Where Did We Sit on the Bus by Brian Quijada. Now, during a third grade lesson on the civil rights movement and Rosa Parks, a Latina girl raises her hand to ask the question, where did we sit on the bus? And her teacher can't answer the question. This autobiographical solo show follows that girl from her childhood to adulthood as she explores her family's history, her identity as a first-generation American, and what the world will look like for her future children. This play is an extravaganza. For a solo show, it is extravaganza. It features music that brings together Latin beats, hip hop, live looping. Where Did We Sit on the Bus is an innovative, high energy, joyous, tour de force theatrical experience about what it means to be Latina in America. We are so thrilled to welcome powerhouse talent Satya Chavez to Cleveland to perform this role and to create the soundtrack for the show live right in front of you by singing, beatboxing, and playing multiple instruments, including piano, flute, guitarrón, bass, harmonica, and more. You won't want to miss it. Now, in the interest of time, I'm not going to go through each show. Well, I'll just go through very briefly the rest of the shows. In December, we'll be bringing you a brand new, family-friendly holiday musical event called Light It Up by Jason Michael Webb and Leland Duran Thompson. This world premiere musical event has something for everyone and features original pop, rock, gospel, and jazz holiday tunes, as well as new arrangements of Christmas favorites by Tony Award-winning Jason Michael Webb. Just a side note brag here, the team that is putting Light It Up together for us was an essential part of the Aretha Franklin movie Respect that is premiering this weekend. So our director, Christopher, did the choreography for the show. Jason, one of the co-creators and composers, he did the music for the show. And Leland, the other co-creator, was the acting coach for Jennifer Hudson. So these amazing talents will be coming here to make this new holiday show for us. In February, get ready for exhilarating adventure with Catherine Bush's adaptation of Alexander Dumas' novel, The Three Musketeers. This is a tale of brave friends fighting injustice, and it is jam-packed with secret plots, treacherous spies, dazzling swordplay, and sweeping romance. I'll be directing this fast, fun, and fresh love story. Yes, it's a love story, but a love story that has almost wall-to-wall fights in it. We'll be giving this classic a distinctively modern makeover that will have you cheering all for one and one for all. Next up is Antigone, freely adapted from Sophocles by renowned theater artist Emily Mann. In a polarized nation, age and youth clash over the soul of their country. The leader, Creon, stands for law and order. Her niece, Antigone, kneels for justice. Both crave peace and unity, but neither will yield. This production was in its second week of rehearsal when it had to be canceled due to the pandemic. We're bringing it back because it's a story that is more relevant now than ever before. Through Antigone, the audience watches as good people make really bad decisions. And then when they are made aware that their decisions maybe aren't the best, instead of adapting and changing, they double down on those bad decisions. And we in the audience watch the disastrous outcomes. This play also teaches us that change is possible. The last line of this play is, we can change, we can change. So if there's ever a play that's going to talk about leadership and citizenship and family, this is it. This is a play that shows us the path that we don't want to go down so that we can create the path that we do. And then our final show, and this is so exciting, our final show was commissioned by Cleveland Playhouse as part of the Row Green Fund for New American Plays and part of an initiative at Cleveland Playhouse to create a Cleveland cycle of plays. So when we reached out to artists, we asked them to please create a play that is inspired in some way by either Cleveland's past, its present, or its future. Now, playwright Charlie Yvonne Simpson really delivered on this because she wrote a play about Cleveland's past, present, and future. So her play, I'm Back Now, is a loving and tender family drama that transcends time and space. Sarah journeys to Cleveland to meet her birth mother, Elle, and discovers that they are descendants of Sarah Lucy Bagby, the last person ever prosecuted under the Fugitive Slave Act. Traveling through time from the 1860s to today, this play weaves together the lives of 3 generations of one Cleveland family. Again, we commissioned Charlie in January of 2020. And this became the play that she worked on through the pandemic. And we are so thrilled to share the premiere with you next spring. So that is our season. And there will be many more exciting events in our season, including actually the first thing that'll be happening for Cleveland Playhouse is a production of Twelfth Night performed by our Masters of Fine Arts acting students who are part of the Case Western Reserve University Cleveland Playhouse MFA acting program. And now I feel like I was given the spotlight and I really appreciate it, but I also want to share for you what else is going on around town that you will not want to miss. Okay, so you don't have to wait long. Here's my recommended list. So Musical Memories is a concert extravaganza to celebrate Cleveland Heights' centennial. This is a one-night only production that will feature the best local musical theater talent and an 11-piece orchestra performing show-stopping numbers from decades of musicals at King Park. And there's something you could do right now. This is Border Light's self-guided audio tour called Under the Sycamores, a secret path audio experience in Cleveland's historic Erie Street Cemetery. So maybe you go to a game and then maybe you do this audio tour, vice versa. So this remains available for download to listen to and stroll at your own pace through September 30th. And then, of course, I want to shout out our friends at Cleveland Public Theater. They are on track to do their Pandemonium this year. Again, this is CPT's annual fundraiser celebration that is chock full with theater, dance, visual arts, performance by cutting edge local artists. Again, one night only there on September 18th. Now, Karamu House is doing Ma Rainey's Black Bottom. You may have seen the incredible movie last year, but nothing compares to experience it live, to experience the work of one of America's preeminent playwrights in production at Cleveland's premier African-American theater. And now, my final recommendation, if you caught the world premiere of Chelsea Marcantel's play Tiny Houses at CPH back in 2018, then you know that you don't want to miss the production of her play Airness at Dobama. Get ready to rock, okay? Because this play takes you into the wild and wacky world of competitive air guitar. And, you know, Nathan Mata at Debama, he promises that this play will shake you all night long. I will be at all of these shows and I can't wait to see you. So thank you again. And now, if in conclusion, if you've ever been through any Leadership Cleveland programs, and I'm so thrilled, I think Rebecca Levine, my classmate, is here. So Rebecca and I know, and all of you know, and you've heard Marianne say, leaders show up. So I want to let you know that Cleveland's theatrical community needs you to show up. You can show up in person. Thank you. You can show up online. You can show up by donating to the theater of your choice. You know, theaters have expenses for this upcoming season that they've never had before. We are all trying to staff up and get back to work. And I do have to say, I would be in big trouble if I didn't mention Cleveland Playhouse's $5 million Lights Up campaign that is raising funds for our return to the stage and for our bright, equitable, and accessible future. So thank you all so much for listening, and I'm happy to take any questions.
Laura, thank you so much, and such an exciting season that you have coming up. We do have a couple questions that have come in. So to start, you mentioned that Broadway is requiring vaccinations. So looking at Playhouse Square, Cleveland Playhouse, can they require vaccinations for audiences, staff, artists?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for that question. I will say that Cleveland Playhouse is currently figuring out what the next step will be. So we have sort of everything on the table that we're discussing right now. And as soon as it becomes clear, we will announce that to the community.
Let's talk about the new season. How does the process of creating a season unfold? How do you make the decisions? And looking at this coming year, two of your shows are world premieres. How do you decide on how to incorporate that into an upcoming season, especially with all that's going on?
Yeah, well, you know, creating a season is always a special honor and privilege. And I have to say that I think every artistic director remembers that first season that they ever programmed as artistic director. I had the great good fortune of working with my artistic team to plan our centennial season. And I really thought that that centennial season would be sort of the highlight of my programming work. And I'm discovering now that actually programming this season has been the most meaningful. And it has really been a team effort. And I want to shout out Anne-Marie Warren, our board chair, Colette Lezour, our managing director, who came into Cleveland Playhouse in the middle of all of this, our director of education, Pamela DiPasquale, and all of the people who work both on the board and staff who work so hard to get these lights up over here. You know, we created that really strong vision criteria this year about we need to be a part of this community's recovery. And so what are the shows that are going to bring hope and light and uplift, but also shows that aren't going to shy away from the traumas that many of us have been through? I shout out to our literary manager, Rachel Lerner-Lay, who probably reads about 200 to 300 plays a year. And so looking at all of that great work, we, again, it's tough. It's like, right. It's like more competitive than like getting into Harvard, getting your play into a season. And we think a lot about whose stories have been told, whose stories have not been told, who through the power and privilege of my position, who do we get to put center stage? Who gets the spotlight? And so again, we're really looking to make sure that we have a multiplicity of voices in our season and that we are supporting all of our artists and audiences in creating, really making Cleveland Playhouse that place where everybody feels seen, heard, valued, and empowered to show up as their best self and do their best work.
Laura, as you think back over this past year, how did you navigate through this uncertainty and closing of the stage and really keep your audiences engaged so that they're ready to come back as you are returning to the stage?
Sure, thank you. First of all, I want to shout out, Cleveland Playhouse, we fulfill our mission in two ways, right? By the plays that are on stage and the work that is being done in education in the community. And I feel like I just have to shout out again our education team and how they quickly adapted and pivoted to serve the children in our community and to serve the children who needed it the most. So this past year, our education team was out in 10 different academic learning pods, hosting and putting together that supervision for children who would otherwise maybe be home alone, wouldn't have a Wi-Fi connection that was secure. So again, I'm really proud of that work. And again, I spoke about the summer camps. And then in terms of the work on our stage changed, right? Our stage changed to a digital stage. And, we were figuring it out as we went along. And again, shouting out to the folks on our production staff, folks who are normally, I want to shout them out, but like, for example, Jess Rosenlieb, who is our props supervisor, in this moment, she pivoted. So she became sort of a critical part of our Theater Thursdays as a digital assets manager. And so props changed. What a prop meant was different. So props meant, what people were seeing in the background, but props meant also what people were seeing on the screen. So we just, theater people are creative, resourceful, resilient, and, collaboration is the key of what we do in everything. So it was just learning how to collaborate for a different stage.
Now let's look ahead. What is your artistic vision for the next 5 to 10 years for Cleveland Playhouse?
Yeah, thank you. I think we're all looking forward to the next chapter, right? That we have, we've learned so much through these past 18 months about what equity, diversity, and inclusion and access, what that means. And again, we're on a path to continue that work because we know that doing that work will make us even stronger, even more collaborative, and our art will be better. So certainly we're on that path. One particular thing about things on stage, I am so excited about the Cleveland Cycle and the Row Green Fund for New American Plays, really creating work about Cleveland. Charlie's play, I'm Back Now, is one of them. We also have another play under commission that has been written called Crooked River Burning. It's an adaptation of Mark Weingartner's book. It's about a 700-page book that has been made into a play. And then we also have another play coming down the pike called Liebling by Vichet Chum. And it is inspired by the Cambodian community here in Cleveland. So that's just some of the new work that's coming ahead. And also really looking, folks who know Cleveland Playhouse, we know that we do classics. We treat classic plays like modern plays. So you're gonna see The Crucible like you've never seen before. You're gonna see Three Musketeers like you've never seen before. And so I'm really excited to expand what we think of as classical plays and continue to open up that canon and bring Cleveland Playhouse spun productions of classic plays.
Well, Laura, thank you so much for your passion and your commitment to the theater community here in Cleveland. And we are so excited to join you in returning to the stage. And thank you for being here today.
Oh, it was my absolute pleasure. Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody. I can't wait to see you at the theater, at Cleveland Playhouse or around town. Can't wait.